So you sent your CV and your portfolio to a company, they loved it, and now they scheduled an interview with you. So in this video, we'll talk about the single most important thing you need to do on this interview. So I put this poll on Twitter, just asking which of these four things do you think are the most important when interviewing for a design role? Is it being very friendly, showing that you're suited, sharing technical know-how, or not being nervous? And funny enough, a lot of people said showing that you're suited, but in my experience, this is not the most important thing. It is simply not being nervous. I know it's cliche advice, you hear this all the time, but from my experience, the most important thing to do in a design interview is just to be yourself. It's super cliche, but it's be 100% yourself, show your positive side, but ultimately be yourself. And why does this work? Because when they see your CV and your portfolio and they like it, you have one foot in the door. The next thing that the interview does is just to show if you're a good fit for the company. So think about it like being on a date. You don't want to go on a date with someone who's there to show that they're suited for you. You just want to go on a date to, get to know the person. Literally, that's it. And then you yourself will decide if they are suited for you and want to go to a next date. That's how job interviews work. So when they're talking to you, they don't want to hear you oversell yourself and say you've worked on so many projects and you can do everything in a job description. Interviewers pick up on those vibes and they know when someone is not being congruent, and if you're having to do that, it feels like something's wrong and they'll probably go to someone else. And being comfortable is because in a design role, the key thing is communication, communicating with other people. So if you're comfortable talking to the recruiter, they know you'll be comfortable talking to people in the company. So don't worry about being suited for the role. Don't go read up on every design principle and worry about showing them that you know how to use Figma. Don't worry about being very friendly. If the vibe is there, sure, but I would even want you to be friendly with an interviewer. It's getting a job is a serious thing, and you're here to just talk about design and nothing else. So I'll say just be yourself, right? They would get to remember you. And I've seen scenarios where they interviewed me, for instance, and at that time I'm not a good fit, but because I talked about what I like and where I see my career going and answering those questions, maybe a year later or 6 months later, they'll say, hey, this guy I interviewed was really good. Let's call this person back. So you never know how these things are. And what you should know from someone who's being interviewed is that there are so many reasons why you might not get picked for a design role, which are out of your control. They might find someone that's more qualified, has more experience, has worked in a similar product, or the budget might have changed for that role. They might have like a different direction they want to take. They might find someone else internally that they want to promote rather than bringing you in during that process. So there are many reasons why you might not get picked. So if you start worrying about those reasons, you'll go crazy. If you interview for a company and it doesn't work out, think of it as a good thing. You are not a good fit for that company at the right time. You move on to the next company and you're getting used to being interviewed, so you'll feel more comfortable as you go along. So that's just my advice for anyone in design interviews. When I initially started out, I was so nervous. I was like, this is like one of the final stages before I actually get this job, and I really want this job and I want to sell myself. Don't worry about that. I know it might be easy for me to say because I have experience, but legitimately, don't worry about that. When you're a good fit for the company, and the next point I wanted to address is also you're interviewing the company as well. So feel free to ask any legit questions or any concerns that you have. Do they offer remote work, which is what you want? What's their process like? Get to know these things, understand what you're potentially getting yourself into. And also in that case, you can even disqualify them. You can say, oh, I don't think I'll be a good fit for you because I like XYZ. So that's what design interview is about. Just think of them as, dates. Each other just trying to get to know each other, and that's the most important thing. And with time, trust me, you'll find that company which is a good fit for you. If you like this video, if you want to hear more career advice talk, just let me know in the comments. I like talking about these things because I didn't really see this advice when I started. I had to learn it by myself. But this has worked for me. I don't know if it works for other people. It would be interesting to know. Yeah. So like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.